Right. Okay, so we will be entering into a key concept now. Nothing but loops. What is meant by loop? Repeat. Repeated the transaction or execute the same action again and again. Right? That's a looping statement. Conditional statement will not loop it. Let's understand the difference. Take some simple examples. What is meant by looping statement? Okay, so I'll take a simple example that what we have done recently. I just observed. How many people go to temple? Sai Baba temple for prasadam. Okay, we go. We go. To be frank, we go, right? Okay, so I'll tell you. The action is you just go to a temple. Immediately, what you do? Come to the queue. Right? You come to the queue and then you take, you eat, right? And you throw it. That is a single action. You just go and be in the queue and take it and eat it and throw. Single action. Now, what we do, once it is done, again we go. Right? Again we go. One same action we'll do. And after that, again we go. A single action, same day. Then if it is a different day, then how we did it? Right or not? We do. Right? So that means same thing you're doing again and again, again and again. Loop it. Same action, you loop it. That's a looping for you. Now again, looping is two types. Looping is two types. The same example, I'll tell you two people here. There is one person who eats only for 5 times. It's only for 5 times. He has that. 5 times. Then what he do? He knows number of times. Then what he will say? Do it for 1 to 5. Just this is the action that you do. You go in the queue, take it and eat it and then throw it. Then so he has to do it for 5 times. 5 times he has to eat. This is one type of looping. You know how many times that has to be executed. The second person is either his stomach gets full or prasadam gets completed. Don't know how many times. Could be only once, could be 2 times, could be 3 times, or it can go 10 times also. We don't know. Right? We don't know. First time it is limited. Only these many times. But the second one is conditional loop. Conditional loop means don't know how many times you are going to do it, but I have a condition. Condition is the prasadam gets completed there. Keep looping, keep looping, keep doing. That you call it as a conditional loop. In any language, this type of loops will be there. Loops can be categorized into two. One is you call it as an iterative loop or counter loop. Either one you call it as. Second one is conditional loop, you call it as. Iterative loop or counter loop or conditional loop. What is the difference between these? When you say iteration or counter loop, yeah, so if you know how many times it has to be executed, if you know the endpoint number, if you know, say if you are saying that okay, we execute this many times maximum, execute this many times maximum, right? Then in such cases use counter loop. When you know how many times that you have to execute maximum, then you can use counter loop. Forget about Vbscript. Any language this is common. But when we use conditional loop, when we don't know how many times we have to execute, Maximum we don't know how many times, but we know the condition. We know the condition. Okay. So it has to be executed. It has to be executed till certain condition becomes satisfied. Till certain condition becomes satisfied, true or false. Okay. So that's called conditional loop. Now, if you categorize into that, again, this has got into like this. You say loops. In the loops, you have iterative or counter loop, whereas you have something called conditional loop. In the iterative or counter loop, you have two loops again. For next, second one is for each next. Okay, so in iterative or counter loop, you have for next or for each next. In conditional loop, you have do loop and you have something called while vendor. Okay, so while vendor. See what I mean, say do loop. Do is a starting point, loop is a the end point there. End point in a sense like I'll come back. I'll just explain. Under do loop again you have do until loop, or you say do while loop. While when don't have any further. So loops are two types. One is an iterative or counter loop. Next is conditional. In iterative or counter loop, you have for next or for each next. In conditional loop, you have do loop and while when. Whereas do loop again can be categorized into do until loop or do while loop. Okay. So takes time for us, and we need to take a lot of examples. Remember, every example is taken by considering the interviews. Okay, so by considering the interviews, almost every logic is very important. In case if you don't understand any of the logic, please let me know. And because when interview happens, it's not me that who is going to write, right? So it's you that who is going to write at the end, so that it should be very clear. So please let me know if you don't understand anything. Okay. Now, first we'll take the for loop. First you take for loop. So one more thing that I'll tell you now. You can compare with other language while explaining the loop, but most of the people, what they do the mistake is, while taking one example, they'll be thinking of other example parallelly. things will mess up. Okay, so don't think of any other example while explaining one example, especially in this, because for other example logic would be completely different. Okay, so we'll go with one by one. Okay, so don't include multiple things in one. So it should be very straightforward, example to example, that we will go. Because people do this mistake and things will mess up. Your mind cannot catch anything when you merge the things, right? So first you forget the VBscript. You take Java or JavaScript or .NET. How you write the for loop? You will be using one counter variable there mandatorily. That's why it's called as a counter loop. You must have to use one counter variable, because you know how many times you have to execute, right? You have to execute. So to understand how many times it's being executed, till where it has to be executed, then loop will use one counter. So how the syntax will be in other language? You say for, you can also use like var I or int I, right? Assume I is already declared. So you say I equal to 1, I execute I less than or equal to 10, then you say I plus plus, right? This is what you do. I'll explain that. Now what is I equal to 1? There are three parts in this. One is, this is the starting point. So I count should be starting from 1. Should be executed till I reaches to 10. When I is less than or equal to 10, it reaches, yeah, so executes till I equal to 10. What is I plus plus? Increase one value at a time. I value in a sense to increase I value. First time I will be starting with 1, for next iteration 2, 3, 4, like this. If you want to increase 2, you say I plus 2, I plus 3, or minus means I minus minus, that you give. So that's a syntax for loop in other languages, right? You take another language. Come. Same thing here. Same loop concept is same in VBscript also, but syntax will vary from other language to this language. What is the syntax for loop in VBscript? Is same for only. You say I equal to, maybe say 1 to 10. You don't need to say I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 10. You can say I equal to 1 to 10. So say I equal to 1 to 10. You don't need to write I plus plus here. In case if you want to increase one value at a time, you don't need to use anything called I plus plus. So it will automatically increase one value. Here it will automatically increase one value. So I will be starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Executed. As soon as I becomes 11, stops. Right? A for loop can be in a forward way, or a for loop can be in a backward also. Okay. I loop can be forward or I loop can be backward. You know what is meant by that? For loop in a sense incremental. Backward in a, I mean forward in a sense incremental, backward in a sense decremental. Counter can be decremented, counter can be incremented. But what is default? Incremental. Default is incremental here. So remember one point. Okay, so when you are using for loop, this is important for you to judge whether how many times it's going to execute when it is incremental loop. When it is incremental, for loop will be executed only when current value of counter variable. Here it is I, but it's not mandatory that you have to use all the time. You can use any variable. For loop will be executed when current value of the counter variable is less than or equal to end value. When it is incremental, it will be executed only when current value of counter variable is less than or equal to end value. Remember, these are some basic conditions that you need to check to decide how many times this loop is going to execute, whether it will be executed or not. Right? Now, take this. What I mean to say, first you take I. What is the starting value? 1. So assume we are in the first iteration. What is the current value of I? 1. What is the end value I have given? 10. So less than or equal to, right? Executes. I value 2, less than or equal to, again executes. Less than or 3, less than or equal to 10. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Till 10, whatever the condition I told matches. Right? The rule satisfies. But as soon as I becomes 11, what will happen? It stops. Because what is the rule I told? Yeah. So current value is less than or equal to end value. But I value 11 means it goes greater. Stops. Now, a small question for you here. How many times loop will be executed? Might be the, yeah, decremental loop. But how many times that's gonna, I have written decremental here. By default, as I told, incremental. So now, if you take the current value, what will be the current value? 10. 10 is the start point, 1 is the end point, right? End value. First, as soon as you start looping, current value of I would be 10. What is the end value? 1. I value is greater or less than end value? Greater, right? Will not be executed even once. Will not be executed even once. But in certain situations, you must have to do the decremental loop, right? By default, it will be incremental. If you want to write the decremental, what you should do is, there is a keyword in the for loop called as something called step. Something called step. You should say -1. By default, it will be step 1. If you don't write a step, by default, it would be 1. Step 1 means incremental, increase one value at a time. -1 in the sense decremental. Now, if you write like this, for loop will be executed till when? While a current value of I is greater than or equal to end value, decremental will execute. That's what I'm saying. When it is incremental, current value of I should be less than or equal to end value. When it is decremental, current value of I should be greater than or equal to end value. In case if you want to increase to 1 to 10, step 2. You can use like step 2, step 3, step 4, step -1, step -2. How many times loop will be executed? Zero 1, starting from 0 1. 0 1 plus 1, 0. -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. 5 times. Starting from -1. -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. 5 times. Right? How many times? 1 time. Loop will be executed. When I value is 0, it will be executed. As soon as I value becomes 1, it will stop. 1 time. And just the syntax, I'm explaining the syntax. I'm not explaining the purpose or how we can use it. Okay, so let's start with the simple examples and then go with the complex ones, one by one. Now, just say this. Input box. Right. How many times this will be executed now when I run? Only one time. Now what I need is, it has to be executed for 5 times, or it has to be executed for 10 times. What should I do? One option I have is do copy paste for 10 times. One option. But is it recommended approach? No. Right? So other way is go for loop. What I said here, 10 times, right? So keep this code, whatever the code you have written, keep inside the loop. Now what you do, for I equal to why I'm using next, why use this, why you use this in other language, right? There should be something enclosed to say this is where that you need to come back. Next is for that. That's a syntax. So for loop, so you need to enclose the for loop with next. As soon as it finds next, it comes back. You say that, okay, so this till here it has to execute next, then it comes back. So for do, the enclosed is loop, while enclosing is when, like this. Now you say so it's executing 10 times. Now when I say I need to execute 10 times, but did I say I need to execute only from 1 to 10? No. Remember, it's not mandatory that you need to start with only 1 all the time. It's not mandatory that you need to start with the 0 all the time. Depending upon situation that where you are, depending upon like what you are executing, sometimes you will be working with collections. Now let's say you are working with array, with one array, and you are looping from first index in the array to last index in the array. Then how main index will be starting with 0. So that time your loop would be starting with 0. You have to start the looping with 0. Or sometimes you say like, okay, you have 20 items are there, you need to say each one as an individual item, not in an array. Then by item number will be starting from 1, just consider that. Then you have to say 1 to 20, depends on number of items there. This time you need to start with 1. Or sometimes it would be like this, I have some 100 records are there, but I want to execute from 10th record to 50th record. Then what you should do, you need to, instead of starting with 1, you start from 10 to 50. Use I value inside as a record number, right? So that means that it's not mandatory that you have to start with only 1 or 0 all the time. You can start with any number, end with any number, but difference between the starting and end number should be depending on number of times you want to execute. Okay, depending on the situation. So it's not mandatory that you start with only 1 all the time. It's not mandatory that you end with only this number all the time. Okay, So depending on the situation where you are and what you are, what you need to do, then you need to give the start value and end value. So there is no rule that you have to start with only one. And also it's not mandatory that you have to give I is just a standard way of giving for the for loop. I is for iteration, I is for incremental, but I is normally for iteration we count. Okay, iteration number. So the standard way of using writing the loop is I. But in the real time you are going to write a lot of loops, some hundreds of loops that you will be writing within one project, but not in one day. So you will be working on the project for months together, right? So you have to automate a lot of test cases, a lot of things, a lot of codes you need to write. Now that means that in every test case or in every functionality you might need to write the loops like this. In such cases, if you use I everywhere, then that leads to a lot of confusion again. Okay, so that's the reason instead of using I all the time, you are always allowed to use a different variable name. It's not mandatory that you have to use only I. Okay, so you can use a different variable names. I is just a normal regular approach that globally people use. Okay, so I mean, even though I write I here, don't keep a rule yourself saying that no, I have to use I. You can use any different variable name there. Counter. Now we'll say instead of I'll say I will use like this. Maybe counter is a variable here. You can give a different variable name, no problem. Okay, right. Now I can give like this. I'll say 15 to how many times it's going to execute. How many times? 10 times. 15 to 26 actually, starting from 15. Then 21 to 24. 4. So 10 times it would be. Start from 15, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 10 times. So this also will be executing 10 times. Okay. Now, you can display counter inside. Just to say message box counter you can give, or counter variable can be used inside, or if you say how many times it's executed, if you want to know, use like this. Declare extra variable I equal to 0. Inside the loop you say, you know what I'm doing there? I'm increasing I value. Number of times that loop executed, number of ones will be added to I. First time I value, default value of I is 0. If loop executed one time, it will be 0 plus 1. I becomes 1. If loop executed second time, 1 plus 1 it would be 2. Loop executes third time, 2 plus 1, 3 plus 1. Now, yeah, you can use message box inside. But tools will have different method for display. Message box you can use, but one of the problem with the message box is when you run it, when it populates, you have to close it manually. Then only it will move to the next. So that's the reason we don't message box is not a recommended approach. But why I'm using still message box even though it is not recommended? We don't have any other alternative for now. Okay, to display the value. But when you are using automation tools, remember we are going to scrap this message box thing. Okay, we're not going to use. Okay, fine. That's okay now. But my scenario is I need to execute it for 10 times. So message box, the input box will be displayed for 10 times. It will ask one by one. First, when I enter a value, it captures and displays it. My scenario like this: execute this for 10 times, but not mandatory that you need to execute till the last all the time. In between, if user gives empty value in the input box, then you need to stop the loop. If user gives non-empty every time, execute till 10th value or 10 times execute. But if user gives in between empty value, if user gives empty value in between, then it has to stop. Maximum these many times, but not mandatory that you go till the end. Take a scenario for this. Now I said that you need to create an order. You need to create an order. You have written some piece of code to generate the order. To enter the order details, click on submit and validate order is created or not. You have written some 20 or 30 lines of code, maybe some procedure that you have written. Now client asked saying that, okay, now you have written the code, right? I need to generate 20 orders. I need to generate 20 orders. So what you do now, the create order function or create order script, you keep it in inside a loop for I equal to 1 to 20, and then execute this create order script for 20 times. In between the data and all you need to manage, because same data you're not going to provide every time, right? You need to manage it, but how you are going to manage, that's called parameterization thing comes, and I will explain you that. But now you have create order and that has to be executed for 20 times. Then you need to keep it in a loop. For I equal to 1 to 20, you execute this. 20 times it will be executed. But see, normally what happens is, assume you executed first time, second time, third time. And when you executed for fourth time, what happened is maybe the application went, there is some problem occurred in the application, or maybe application, is running out of the data, whatever the material that you are using. After making 5 orders, the material what you are using to generate the order, that material went out of the stock. So when it went out of the stock, what will happen? We will not be able to generate next order, right? Now you say first order you generated, second order generated, third order failed because no stock available. After making 2 orders, stock went out of stock. Will you be able to move for a fourth order now? When third order itself you are not able to generate, then fourth order you are not able to generate. What should you do now? Stop there itself. So if everything goes fine, you execute till 10, maximum of 20, sorry, 20 orders, right? Execute 20 times. But if something goes wrong in between, no need to execute till the end all the time. What you need to do in between? You need to stop, right? You need to stop in between. So what I should do now? Here my condition, how the question is, how can I stop the for loop in between? What is my condition here? Execute maximum of 10 times here, but in between if user gives empty value in the str, that input box, then you have to stop the loop in between. Then how do you do that? Say like this: if str equal to empty, you have a statement called exit. Exit for come out of the for loop. Remember, this is when you are using do loop, it will be exit do. For do loop, same exit statement only do. Exit for means come out of the for loop. Come out of the for loop. Now let's see how it will be executed. Entered value displayed. Went for second time. Executed. Now it's empty. What happened? Stopped. Where? Here in the message input box. No, it will be stopped. It will not ask for third time now, fourth time. Loop will be stopped there. Now you see here, second time I have given empty, stopped. That's it. It's killed there. Loop will be killed there. So for loop, to say this many times you have to execute. Also for loop will give you an option. Like sometimes in some situations you will not be able to go till the end because of some problem in between. You might need to stop the loop there in between. That's where the requirement, I mean, based on the requirement you need to place. Now here what I told, my requirement is whenever the str becomes empty, it has to be stopped, right? So that's my requirement. That's the reason what I have written the condition here. Look at this condition. So how this code will be executed? Let's see here. Let me execute the code again. Hmm. You can use that. You can use that. Number of times executed, you can see that. You can use I equal to I plus 1. Once once after the loop is executed, and you say message box I. Based on the I value, you can tell this many times it's executed. Yeah, if required. You say here, say I equal to 0, I equal to I plus 1. Say message box I. Sorry. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So one, how many times? This time I'm giving empty. Loop stop. You can do that. That's a counter again.
But I don't want the group has to be exit. It has to show some message to the user saying that you have to enter the value.
Okay.
Again, if you enter again, it has to continue again.
Okay. Yeah. That can be done. I mean, you can use. You say here, it's empty, right? Right. I mean, so if user enters empty here, instead of using exit, it should ask for the message box again. Yeah. Okay. Wait for, just keep this question with you. There is called recurring function. Recurring function. Okay, so I'll be coming back. Otherwise, you can say like this. If it is empty, wait for some time. Message is a variable. Okay. Or you can give a message box saying that you must have to enter the value here. Again, you display the another input box. But again, this has the problem, it displays the message box. Next time when you enter empty, it will go for next iteration. Not the your question is same iteration it has to execute. So what you need to do is, now there is something called recurring function. So what you have to do is, in this case, you keep this function, display a message box, validate the value. If str equal to empty, you call the same function again. What happens when you call the same function? What is the first line? Message box, displaying the message box. Second line is validating it. If str equal to empty, when you call the same function again, what it does, it goes back to the first line of that function again. That's called recurring function. Okay, it's a valid question. That's where that normally you're going to write. I will explain you that in the user defined function, because I don't want to divert the topic. Just that's the right question and right example to take. So for recurring function, wait for some time that you will answer. Got what's supposed to be done? Yeah, right. Okay, so this will be executed for 10 times maximum, not 10 times all the time. In between, if user enters empty value, then it stops. I mean, this is the basic syntax of the for loop. Okay, now we need to build on top of this. If you are good in syntax now. Okay, take one by one example. First example is, could be a bit complex. Could be a bit complex. I will be writing a basic solution for now, but later we are going to optimize, every solution one by one, because if I explain the optimization also, that leads to a lot of confusion again. Okay, because for optimization you need to use some advanced thinking and all you need to do for that. So I will write a basic solutions for the problem now, and once we become comfortable in that, then how optimization can be done, I will be explaining you. One of the interview question is now how to check a number is a prime number or a non-prime number. What's the formula? Not by mod 2, divided by self or 1. Right? Only one or self number. So you take like this. I'll say int number equal to, I will give as 5. 5 is a prime or non-prime. Okay. So the logic goes like this. What I have written, 1 to the number, whatever you have given. So what you need to do here is exactly divide int number with each I value. Divide int number with each I value. I value starting from 1, ending with self number. Right? Self number. How many times I should divide that number? I mean, if it divides 2 times, it's a prime. Right? It divides only 2. I mean, it is dividing 5 times, but only 2 times remainder should be 0. When it is 2 times, when I value is 1, when I value is int number, the last one. So only 2 times remainder should be 0. If the remainder is 0 for more than 2 times, it's not prime. Right? So possibility of I, like this, int number is 5, right? Possibilities of I, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the possibility. Now take int number. What is int number? 5, right? So when I value should be divided, only when it is I value is 1, when I is 5. Right? Only these 2 times it has to divide. Remainder should be only 2 times. Then only it will be prime number. If any of the value in between 1 and last number divides, then it's non-prime. Right? So in this case, it will be dividing with only 1. It will be dividing only with 5. Right? It will be dividing only with 5. So it should be prime number, but that I should not say. My script should say it. Okay. See, my logic goes like this. I'll set total equal to 0. Why total I'm using? To count how many times remainder is 0. Now you do like this. If int num mod I equal to 0, total equal to Total plus 1. When total will be increased? Only when the remainder is 0. Now you write the logic like this: if total equal to 2, then message box prime number, else got this logic what I wrote, right? Execute this. To understand this, you need to execute line by line. First you say total is 0, right? Okay, take I value. That's a I possible values. Take int number. Int number is 5. Okay. Now the first one is I value 1. So it would be 5. What will be the remainder? When you say 5 mod 1, remainder is 0. Now this condition matches or doesn't match? Matches. What is my condition here? Int num nothing but 5, mod I is nothing but 1. So when 5 is divided by 1, remainder will be 0. Then it comes inside. What will be the total now? 1. Initial value is 0. It will be total equal to 0 plus 1. 1. Now total would be 1. Take that. Next, go back. I value will be increased. So it would become as 2. What will be the remainder? Remainder is 1. So condition matches or doesn't match? Doesn't match. So total will not be increased. Total will be 1 only. Now again go back. I value would become as 3. What would be the remainder? 2 is the remainder when divided by 2. Condition again doesn't match. Total will not be increased. Total remains 1 only. Now I value will become 4. What will be the remainder? 1. Again condition doesn't match. Total would be 1 only. Now it would become as 5. What will be the remainder? 0. Condition matches. Then total would be 2. Right? Total equal to 1 plus 1. 2. Then go back, I value becomes 6 gone beyond, so that loop will be stopped. Now how many times total is increased? 2 times. Number of times total increased, nothing but number of times it's divided. Right? So how many times it divided? 2 times. So it's a prime number. That's it. Yeah. You have? Okay. Okay, so for prime number, that's an invalid logic starting with 0. Okay. But if you say 0 to, it should be 1 to 1000. You need to say. If I use 0 here, if I use 0, it throws error, division by 0. Okay, so no number can be divided by 0. So that's output that you get. Okay, so you display the total. Just wait. If you want to say how many times it divided, right? Number of times it divided, total will be increasing, right? You say message box total. $16 times. Okay, so that means 1000 will be divided with 16 numbers in between. I mean 14 numbers, 14 total, excluding 1 and 1000, 14, other 14 numbers dividing. How many? Wait, that's where something will be coming next. That's why I told. So I don't want to go into too complex now. Again, you need to write one more loop for it. One loop is to check prime number. Take one number, check it is prime or not. Then that loop should be executed from 1 to 1000 again. Okay, two loops you need to write. Wait for some time. So that is an interview question what you asked. I want to retrieve all the prime numbers what are there in 100 in 1 to 100. I want to display all the prime numbers listed 1 to 1000. Okay, that's what your question is, right? Okay, so wait for some time. That goes into a bit complex because I need to use nested loop for that. But did you get this what I have written? But there is something here which you need to do optimization. If you use 1 crore, loop will be executed for 1 crore. But the ideal way of doing like this, if forget about 1, forget about self number. Okay, you said 2 to self number minus 1. So you are excluding two possibilities, 1 and self number. You are looping from, you are starting from 2 to self number minus 1. How many times it has to divide when it is prime? When it is prime, how many times it should divide? Understand my question. Starting from 2, ending with self number minus 1. How many times it should divide? If it is prime. Prime means it should divide with 1 self number. You are not using 1 here. You are not using self number. Then how many times it should divide? 0 times. Right? 0 times it should divide, right? See, if you are considering 1, if you are considering self number 2 times. 2 times. But if you exclude 1, if you exclude self number, how many times? Obviously 0 times. Right? Now, when it is divided with any number in between, very first number it divides, you can directly say it's not prime, right? Now let's say I have written 1000. I have written 1000. I start with 2. For 2 itself, remainder will be 0. Then there itself I come to know that it's not prime. Right? There itself. Why should I go for 3 again? When I know that it's prime with this number itself, I came to know that it's not prime number. Why should I go for 3 again? So such cases what you need to do? Use as soon as the remainder becomes 0 in between, you say exit statement. Say that it's not prime and exit. Got what I'm saying? You have 1000. Now you start with 2 to 999. 2 to 999 you are doing. So according to the prime formula, no number should be divided. I mean, no number should give remainder as 0. Now when I value is 2, remainder will be 0. There itself, very first time itself, I come to know that it's not a prime. Then why should I go for 3 again? If I exit from there itself, I can save a lot of time, right? If I don't use exit here, what will happen? It will be executed for 998 times. Even though it is prime or non-prime, it will be executed for 998 times. That's where the optimization comes into the picture. Okay, so that's what I told. It could be a bit complex in the optimization. We'll go. As of now, the prime number is start with 1, end with self number. 2 times it has to divide. One is with 1, second one is with self number. If you give 10 here, or if you give 6, then it's not prime. In between it divided it 4 times. One is 1, 2, 3, 6. 4 times it's divided. Right? But in interviews when you go, if you write this, they will ask, can you optimize this? If it is small number, okay. But if it is a big number, Assume you have given 1 lakh as a number. Then loop should be executed how many times? According to this, 1 lakh times it will be executed. If you have given 1 crore, 1 crore times loop has to be executed. But can you optimize the code? You need to. That's where your expertise comes into the picture, right? But how many times loop will be executed now? 6 times, starting from 1 and ending with 6 times. Okay, keep this with you. So a simple thing to check whether it's a prime or non-prime. A simple formula it is: start with 1 and end with a self number. Understand how many times it's dividing. If number of times it divided equivalent to 2, then it's a prime. And number of times it divided is not equal to 2, then it's not prime. Next is 1 prime or non-prime? 1 is a prime. But if you give 1 there, you know what will happen? It will show as non-prime. That's a drawback there. Because when you say 1 there, int number is 1, what will happen? It will be executed 1 to 1. Number of times in total will be increased is only 1. Total would become as 1 only. But what is our condition said? If total equal to 2, then only displays prime, otherwise non-prime. But total will become as 1 only, so that it will display as non-prime. That's a drawback of that. Okay, so you need to do that kind of optimization. Next, I'll come back with all the optimizations, but that will become very complex in the beginning itself. Second one is, now I need to reverse a string. I think we discussed about these things earlier, but I have not explained the loops. Now we got the situation. Reverse a string, but do not use str reverse function. Mark this as very important. How do you do that? Say this. Str equal to, I'll just write a single word for now, then I'll increase. Let me know who understands this logic. Okay, who don't understand, then I will explain accordingly. How many times loop will be executed? What is the length? 7 words are there. So it would be 1 to 7. Who understood this? What is the syntax of mid function? String, comma, start position, comma, number of characters. So first input is from which value we need to. I've given as str. Nothing but example. I is a start position. Number of characters I want is 1. So I value will be initially, first value is 1, right? Then it will be like this. Mid of str comma, right? Str comma 1 comma 1. So when you say 1 comma 1, what does it mean? Starting from first character, 1 character length. That means 1 character. So it gets the first character. Then I value will be 2. Starting from second character, 1 character length. It will get second character. 3 comma 1. Starting from third character, 1 character length. Third character. That means you are getting one by one character. First time E, X or A, M, P, L, E. One by one you will be getting. Then how you are getting each character? Starting from left to right you are moving. Every time you are getting the character at right side, right? Every time you are getting the character at right side. Take one more variable, new str equal to str ampersand. Which side I'm appending the variable? Now str char for that new str. Left side. New str is at right side. Str char where? Left side. Right? Left side. Now execute this. First time, what is the str char? Gets E. First time, what will be the new str? It's a new variable. Very first time it will be new str is a new variable. What will be the default value? Empty. Right? First time what will be the new str? Empty, right? Then it would become as E ampersand empty. So what it would become as? E only. So new str would become as E. Next, what will be the str char? X. Now execute this. Str char nothing but X. Str char. Str char is X, right? And what is there in new str? What it would become as? Xe. Now what will be the str char? A. Now A ampersand Xe. It would become as AXE. Right? So A. Now again M ampersand AXE. MAXE. Got the logic what I wrote here? So what I'm doing, I'm taking the character at right side every time. For a new variable, what I'm doing, I'm appending the character at left side. So just it will be appending in reverse order. Take from right side, append at left side. So once all the characters are completed, characters will be reversed. That's called str reverse. Other way that what you can do is len of str to 1. Will it be executed? You have to, you are coming backward, right? That will be reversed. You are taking from right to left. So every time you are taking the character at left side, appending at right side. Simple logic for reversing a string. One of the most common interview question that has been asked. Reverse a string but don't use str reverse function. So number of times it will be executed depends on number of characters that we do have. Yeah? Okay, got this logic? In any language, this would be common. Logic is not unique to the language. Logic is common across all the languages. Next is, I have to check whether a value is a palindrome or not. But don't use str reverse again. Huh? Uh, New? Okay. Try other way. Try other way. You need to go this, but try other way. That will be an exercise for you now. Okay, but stop this here, and I'm giving you an exercise. I will give you the hint and you start writing. What? Huh? Yeah, you need to compare both. But what I need to do is now you take first and last character, compare. You take second last but one. Huh? No, you can do this way also. Try, and I want to test your logical skill. So what you need to do is you take first and last. You take first and last. You take second and last but one. Third and last but two, like this. Now first and last should be same. Second and last but one should be same, right? That kind of comparison that you need to make. I mean, the logic what you told also same works. But thing is, giving one solution good, but giving multiple solutions better. You have to be better and best, right? So this is going to be your exercise today. As I told, from today onwards, every day you will be getting the exercise. And if you have done it, you can ping me on WhatsApp the code. If you are stuck, but you try it, if you are stuck, you can still ping me, then I will explain you. I mean, I will explain in a sense, I will not explain you full logic. Don't expect it. I will tell you where you have done the mistake. Right? I'll explain you where you have done the mistake. That's how you learn. That's how you learn. Okay, I will upload this code right away in the group.